Let's see if you're as smart as you think, or just as terrified. The further we go, the darker it gets. Are you sure you want to continue? Most people scroll away by question 10. Do you have the stomach to finish? Have you ever wondered where old-school dentures came from? It's actually pretty gross. What did 19th century dentists use to make dentures for the wealthy? It's B. Dead soldiers' teeth. They were called Waterloo teeth because they were pulled from thousands of dead bodies on the battlefield. Losing a head sounds like an instant game over, but for one creature, it's just a minor inconvenience. Which insect can live for several weeks even after its head is cut off? The answer is C, the cockroach. It doesn't breathe through its mouth, so it only dies eventually because it can't drink water. You know that feeling when you're drifting off and suddenly your body jolts like you've fallen off a cliff? What is that phenomenon called? That's a hypnic jerk. Your brain basically thinks you're dying and sends a shock to see if you're still alive. Don't ever stand under this tree when it rains, or you'll seriously regret it. Which tree is known as the most dangerous tree in the world? It's the manchineal. Every part of it is toxic. Even the sap dripping in the rain can burn your skin off. Artists used to use a very specific, dark brown pigment. But where did it come from? What was the primary use of mummy brown paint? Believe it or not, it's B. They literally ground up ancient Egyptian mummies to make oil paint. Once you pass away, your body starts a process of self-eating. Do you know which part of the body starts this process first? It's C. The enzymes that once digested your food start breaking down your own cells almost immediately. People used to have a very creepy way of remembering their loved ones in the 1800s. What did they do for memories? It's B. They would dress up the deceased and pose with them for one final family photo. There is a terrifying mental disorder that makes you believe something impossible about yourself. What is the coder delusion? The answer is C. People with coders believe they are literal walking corpses with no internal organs. Imagine waking up in total darkness, 6 feet under. Why did people install safety coffins in the 18th century? It's B. These coffins had bells on the surface, so if you woke up buried, you could ring for help. Most birds like shiny things, but this vulture has a much darker fashion sense. What bird is known for this? The bearded vulture. It dyes its feathers blood red using iron-rich soil and eats mostly bones. History isn't just wars. Sometimes it's just bizarre. Like the time an entire town couldn't stop moving. What was the dancing plague? It's B. Hundreds of people danced for days without rest until they died of strokes or heart attacks. You've probably heard this terrifying urban legend. But do you know how many spiders you actually swallow in your sleep per year? It's C0. It's a total myth. Spiders aren't interested in crawling into a giant, breathing, vibrating mouth. This is the stuff of nightmares for doctors. It's when the impossible happens after death. What is Lazarus syndrome? It's B. It's when a person's heart suddenly starts beating again after they've been declared dead. The ancient Romans didn't mess around when it came to family crimes. Which of these was their real punishment for killing one's father? It's B. They'd sew you in a leather sack with a dog, a rooster, a viper, and a monkey, then throw it in the river. Your high-end perfume might contain something quite disgusting from the ocean. What is the main ingredient in ambergris? Yep, it's B. Ambergris is essentially a waxy substance produced in the digestive system of sperm whales. Sleep isn't just for resting, it's for maintenance. What happens to your brain if you go too long without it? It's B. Lack of sleep triggers cells to start clearing out neurons and synaptic connections, literally eating your brain tissue. Even the most brilliant minds aren't safe after they're gone. Which famous scientist's brain was stolen during his autopsy? It was Albert Einstein. The pathologist took it without permission and kept it in a jar for decades. At the base of Mount Fuji lies a forest with a dark and tragic reputation. Do you know what it's actually called? It's A. Aokigahara. It's sadly one of the world's most popular sites for suicide due to its density and silence. History's pharmacies were a bit more biological than they are today. What was the purpose of corpse medicine? It's B. People would ingest ground-up human bone, blood, or fat to cure everything from headaches to epilepsy. Nature is beautiful, but sometimes it's just plain gross. Which sea creature can turn its stomach inside out to eat? It's the starfish. It pushes its stomach out through its mouth to digest its prey outside its body. In certain burial conditions, a body doesn't just rot. It turns into something else entirely. What is adipocere? It's C. In damp environments, body fat turns into a crumbly, waxy substance that preserves the body like soap. Some monsters live among us and fade away into history without ever being named. Which of these was never caught? Jack the Ripper. Despite his fame, the identity of the person who terrorized London in 1888 remains a mystery. Have you ever stood on a high ledge and had a sudden, random urge to jump? What is that feeling called? It's D, also known as l'appel du vide. It's a common psychological trick where the brain misinterprets a safety signal. Before toothpaste, the Romans had a very recycled way of keeping their smiles bright. What did they use? Believe it or not, it's C, urine. The ammonia in it actually works as a bleaching agent. This was a big question during the French Revolution. How long does a human head remain conscious after being cut off? Scientists estimate it's up to 30 seconds, long enough to realize what just happened. Talk about a dark family dinner. Which of these animals eats its own mother shortly after birth? The black lace weaver spider. The mother encourages her babies to eat her so they have enough nutrients to survive. This is one of the most grotesque phenomena in nature. Do you know what a rat king actually is? It's B. It's when several rats' tails get knotted together with blood and dirt, forcing them to live as one giant mass. Justice in the Middle Ages was basically a lose-lose situation. What was used to test if a woman was a witch? The swimming test. If you floated, you were a witch and executed. If you sank and drowned, you were innocent. This is perhaps the darkest medical fact out there. Which of these can happen during a coffin birth? It's B. Gas buildup inside a deceased pregnant woman can force the fetus out of the body after death. The Vikings were famous for many things, but one of their rumored execution methods was truly horrific. What was the bloody eagle? It's B. It involved cutting the ribs from the spine and pulling the lungs out to look like wings. Ancient gods usually demanded sacrifices. What did the Aztecs do to honor Tlaloc, the god of rain? Tragically, it's C. They believed the tears of children were necessary to bring rain for their crops. Not all blood is red. This living fossil has blood that looks like it's from another planet. What color is it? It's blue. Their blood contains copper instead of iron and is worth thousands of dollars for medical use. The Last of Us isn't purely fiction. There's a real fungus that hijacks insects. Which fungus turns ants into zombies? Cordyceps. It takes over the ant's brain, makes it climb a plant, and then erupts a stalk from its head. Some urban legends are based on terrifying eyewitness accounts. What was the mystery of the smiling man? It's B. It comes from creepy encounters with a tall man in a suit who would dance and smile widely while stalking people. No, your head doesn't blow up, but it feels like it in the middle of the night. Which of these can cause it? It's B. It's a sleep disorder where you hear a massive bang in your head just as you're falling asleep. Soldiers' wounds would sometimes glow blue in the dark, and they often survived. What was that called? It was B. Bacteria called P. Luminescence produced a natural antibiotic that actually helped heal the wounds. You might think of lions or sharks, but the most efficient killer in nature is much smaller. What is it? The dragonfly. They have a 95% kill rate. Once they lock onto prey, it's basically already dead. The Romans took mourning to a very literal level. Why did they keep larimatories? It's B. Mourners would cry into bottles and place them in tombs to show how much the deceased was loved. In 1959, 9 hikers died under extremely strange circumstances. What is that mystery called? It's B. Their tent was cut from the inside, and they fled into the snow partially clothed. No one knows why. Being frozen solid usually means death, unless you're this specific amphibian. Which animal can come back to life? The wood frog. It stops its heart in winter, then thaws out and hops away in the spring. Australia once declared war on a bird, and the birds won. What was it called? It's B. The Australian military used machine guns against emus to protect crops, but the emus were too fast. Before photography, how did people preserve the face of a dead person? What is it called? It's B. They'd pour plaster or wax over the deceased's face to create a 3D souvenir for history. If you were stuck in a bunker for 1,000 years, what is the one food that would still be edible? It's honey. Archaeologists have found 3,000-year-old honey in tombs that is still perfectly safe to eat. One of Hollywood's most gruesome unsolved murders involves a woman found in a vacant lot. What is it called? It's B. Elizabeth Short was found murdered and mutilated in 1947, and the killer was never found. In the bird world, cuckoos are the ultimate bad neighbors. Do you know how they treat other birds' nests? It's C. They lay their eggs in other nests. Once the cuckoo baby hatches, it kicks the original babies out to die. Imagine being so tired you could die, but you lose the ability to fall asleep. What is that disease called? It's B. It's a rare genetic disease where you eventually stop sleeping entirely until you die of exhaustion. Sometimes the real horror comes from the government. What was the Tuskegee syphilis study? It's B. For 40 years, the U.S. government let black men suffer from syphilis without treatment just to observe them. Death is inevitable for us, but for one tiny creature, it's optional. Which animal can live forever? The immortal jellyfish. It can revert its cells back to their earliest form and start its life cycle all over again. In many parts of the world, people hear a low-frequency noise that no one can explain. What is it called? It's B. The Taos hum. It's a mysterious sound heard by about 2% of the population with no known source. Your ink is for life, but what happens to it after you pass away? Do you know the answer? It's B. Since the ink is in the dermis layer, your tattoos will stay as long as your skin is preserved.